We're dancing with the angels. The question will be asked, in 2019, what did we do to make sure we kept our democracy intact?
Is the question of our time, one of dire importance, from Congressman Elijah Cummings, who passed away this morning at the tender age of 68. Elijah served Maryland's 7th Congressional District with dignity and honor for more than 20 years. He was a much beloved and much respected statesman, the devotion to public service and a passion for civil rights. He also served as the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. We're going to talk about his legacy with Congresswoman, District of Columbia, Eleanor Holmes Norton. Congresswoman, great to see you here. I know you knew him and knew him well and knew him long and well. Talk a little bit about what he was like as a colleague and what kind of impression he left, the kind of mark that he left in his years in that body where you now serve.
Well, condolences to Maya, his wife, and his family. But I should say that our loss is deep because at the height of his power and when he was perhaps most needed, we have lost a giant in the House of Representatives. The chairman was in the midst of the impeachment inquiry from which I have just come. And it's interesting to know that today I just received a copy of the summary that he and the two other chairmen wrote of their critique of Trump's response to that inquiry. And now we have perhaps even more impeachable offenses. We needed Elijah as much as we have ever needed him. And while we would have felt this loss, no matter when, we were dependent upon his leadership, and none of us can fill the vacuum that's been left here in the House of Representatives.
Congresswoman, I'll say I knew him pretty well. And one of the things that I can say for him was that he was irrepressible. He was a fierce partisan and a fierce fighter, and yet someone who was filled with a lilting kind of sense of joy at almost all times. And there was nothing he loved more than work. He worked all the time and took great joy and passion in it. He worked, I think, all the way till the very end. I believe that he was still chairing committee hearings from hospice as recently as last week. Is that right?
Well, he was having, and we didn't even know he was in hospice, but we had a meeting last week with him, those of us on the committee. And your characterization of Elijah is correct. What he gave forth on television and in committee hearings was, of course, a very commanding presence. But I have to tell you that he was seen by all of us who knew him, including my Republican colleagues, as a very gentle spirit. There are very few members of this Congress who combine that kind of feeling and respect from colleagues at the same time that remember what our committee does, that you must hammer the other side.
Eddie, only because we have a break that we have to get out to in a minute, I want to say a couple things about the man from you. You know, as I said a second ago, a fierce fought as hard as anybody I've ever seen, and a civil rights figure. You know, he integrated a swimming pool when he was being attacked with rocks and bottles at the age of 11. Mm-hmm. So he was in the fight for a long time. But he was also someone who really embodied the Obama notion of the ability to disagree and disagree passionately without being disagreeable.
Right. Didn't impute disagreement to the character of his interlocutor. Right. He brought the fact that he was the son of a sharecropper. When he took the oath of office, he brought up the fact that his father said, if only he had been given an opportunity, what he could have done. So with the death of Representative Elijah Cummings, I've said, we are in a moment where we have a deficit of decency. And with his death, that deficit has been tripled.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.